Good evening, everyone. So let me share my screen and begin the presentation. So, welcome to this evening's State of the Davis, the first All Friends Global virtual event. I am Lisa Fischman, Ruth Gordon Shapiro, Class of 37, Director of the Davis Museum at Wellesley College. This is my 10th year at the Davis, and a most unusual year it's proving to be indeed. I'm coming to you live from my home office in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I'm delighted to have you with me this evening for this virtual gathering of friends. Oops. Sorry about that. Although we're gathering remotely, I begin with this important acknowledgement. The Davis Museum at Wellesley College is located on the ancestral and unceded tribal lands of the Massachusetts people. We acknowledge the continuing presence of the Massachusetts and their relatives and neighbors, the Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples, and pay respect to Indigenous elders, past and present. I would like to thank the Friends of Art National Committee and Mary Flannery, class of 1980, our new chair, who bring dedication to the Davis and to the Wellesley community in their roles as leadership volunteers. Friends of Art Giving supports exhibitions, programs, publications, new acquisitions, and opportunities for students that are unique to Wellesley. We're incredibly grateful to Friends of Art for more than 50 years of giving in support of art at Wellesley, and with whom we are able to imagine a rich, bright future. Pictured here, you see staff, faculty, and members of the Friends of Art National Committee gathered on Zoom for a reception to toast seniors in the Red Class of 2020 during the May meeting. I want to thank Karen McAdams, Friends of Art Coordinator, Alicia LaTorres, Friends of Art Curatorial Research Associate, and Jamie Clark, Class of 23, our Friends of Art Student Assistant, for their support this evening. The Davis closed to the public on March 13th. Most of the staff and I have been working remotely since. Security has remained on site throughout, and members of the collection staff returned in late July. This has been a turbulent time. The pandemic has cracked open disparities and injustices not only related to the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on Black, Latinx, and Indigenous communities, but also racial injustices and inequalities with longer histories and deeper roots. The murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, the loss of heroes, John Lewis and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, among many others, have sparked new interrogations and new calls to action. Systemic racism and white supremacy are cornerstones of the museum writ large. As institutions, museums have often been sites for the aggregation and transmission of exclusionary violent histories, practices, and values. Museums around the world are grappling with these issues, facing a reckoning, not just in the historical context, but as living legacy. Activists demand that we acknowledge our complicity and adjust course. This work is long overdue. We can rise to the challenge, take the charge, activate new conversations through artwork as a fundamental form of human expression. On April 3rd, which seems about a million years ago, given the surreality of pandemic time, novelist Arundhati Roy published an extraordinary account in the UK Financial Times on the pandemic in India, full of terror and rage at the political, economic, social, and health crises ensuing there. She closed this long and moving piece with a call. Historically, Roy writes, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. What comes next for museums? What is the world that we will help to create? As an academic museum, The Davis is perfectly poised for this work. In partnership with students and faculty and our global community of friends, we are thought leaders in the field. Smaller, more nimble, and less hierarchical than our municipal cousins, we can be more responsive. And our mission in support of liberal arts education at Wellesley College means an enduring commitment to critical inquiry, to the long and inspiring work of presenting, interpreting, and amplifying the voices of artists who in the past have been refused the center, to new ways of seeing. I wonder if it is the confluence at this moment of heightened awareness of mortality, human fragility, disconnection, and intersection that sharpens our sense of priorities. Through engagement with artwork, the museum proposes a unique way in to difficult human histories and conversations. We can imagine new narratives, new scholarship, new approaches to activating the objects in our care. Using the multifaceted and anti-racist lens of social justice, we can reformulate interpretive approaches, exhibition strategies, acquisition priorities, and collections management. Our review can encompass hiring priorities, staff opportunities, matters of representation, equity, and agency at every level. To these end, and to those still to be imagined, we have convened a DEI working group and are embarking on a decolonization project, leading first with a campus reading group. We are connecting with the Black and Native student organizations whose written demands to the Wellesley administration are compelling. Most of all, our moment brings an increased sense of urgency and purpose to mentoring and learning from the next generation. The Davis is a museum for all, no matter how one comes to it or what one brings. We thought a lot about community as the campus evacuated, and as we turned to digital platforms to provide support for the remote academic program. We paused to listen, to learn, and to think about how best do this work. Over the summer, even with the interruption of extensive furloughs, the Davis staff pivoted elegantly. Curators transformed themselves into producers, self-training in new technologies very quickly to generate new content for classes. Using new gizmos and new software, they learned to edit video, to live stream from the galleries, to deploy new tools for engaging students in classes, no matter where they are in the world. In these ways, we've continued to provide access to the Davis to our galleries, collections, scholarship, resources, and mentorship. You are warmly invited to find these resources on the Davis website and online. Beginning in March, Davis curators contacted Wellesley faculty members across departments, Africana Studies, Anthropology, Art and Art History, Cinema and Media Studies, Chemistry, Chinese Studies, Classical Studies, Education, English, French, History, Japan Studies, Latin, Peace and Justice Studies, Philosophy, Political Science, Psychology, Religion, Sociology, Spanish, Women's and Gender Studies, and the Writing Program. Based on faculty priorities and needs, we redoubled our efforts to produce virtual exhibitions, creating rich content designed to mirror the gallery experience, now online. A special section of the Davis website at thedavis.org highlights 7 recent exhibitions, with more to come over this academic year. Alexandria Smith's Seed to Harvest, for example, which is installed in the Davis lobby windows, foregrounds Wellesley's first African-American graduates. The virtual exhibition, pictured on the right, not only showcases Smith's inventive portraits of these first 5 Black alumni, but also includes an artist interview undertaken by Alana Bridges' class of 2020, who worked at the Davis in several student roles and was also a summer intern. The Davis is also active on the Google Arts and Culture platform, where Davis exhibitions are transformed into stories. For example, pictured above is Making a Difference in the World, Portraits of Women at the Davis Museum. Curated by the Davis Summer Internship class of 2019, The objects were selected, researched, written up, and designed for presentation by our student interns. My thanks again to Friends of Art, and particularly to Cecily Horton, class of '80, and Betty Rausch, class of '65, for their ongoing support of the summer internship program. Making Not Taking, Portrait Photography in the 19th Century, pictured below, expands access to an exhibition that also mines the Davis collections. Curated by Carrie Cushman, the Linda Wyatt Gruber 66 Curatorial Fellow in Photography, it provides enhanced visual access to the objects and to new scholarship in the field. The Davis app, which is available for download on the App Store, allows us to enrich the experience of in-gallery viewing through additional content. This mobile platform is particularly well suited to the presentation of student coursework, projects that connect to and expand upon objects and exhibitions at the Davis. Friends of Art funds over recent years have specifically supported the development and execution of this app. Thank you. The Davis connects with the world on campus and beyond through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and each social media platform allows us to share and connect in different ways. We craft initiatives that are specific to each platform with the goal of opening the museum to as many people as possible. Access is a key goal, and digital connection is a new frontier. You may remember the Friends of Art Shares initiative, FOA Shares, which is second from the left on the bottom row. That was a huge hit. We also have a channel on YouTube where you can find public programs, including lectures and artist talks, interviews, and so forth. It's a great resource and building. The Davis curators are spending most of their time these days developing lectures and presentations for Wellesley classes, working with faculty to meet the needs of students for access to works of art in our collections, and sharing their expertise through virtual class visits. Sometimes, as you see here with Amanda Gilvin, the Sonia Novick-Kerner class of '51 senior curator and assistant director of curatorial affairs at the Davis, they provide asynchronous content, pre-recorded lectures, and then follow up with questions and students in person and to advise on research. Other times, they're called upon to stream live into virtual classrooms, either working in the galleries or for home using high-res images. As ever, no matter these unusual times, we work most directly in support of our students. Here you see the inaugural meeting of the newly combined Student Visitor Assistant and Student Guide programs, both of which have been retooled by Arthurina Fears, Curator of Education and Public Programs, to maximize the potential of digital connection. It's different and it's a challenge, but it's also exciting and full of potential. Many thanks to Friends of Art Funds for supporting these programs, and to Carol Grossman, class of 1966, for her generous support of the SVAs. Acquisitions allow us to continue to grow, to remain relevant, to recast the art historical narrative, to increase visibility for BIPOC artists, to change the pedagogical conversation. I thought you might like to see a few recent acquisitions, so recent in fact that at least one has not yet arrived in the building. But these exemplify my point. On the left, you see a beautiful watercolor and ink drawing from 1965 by Charles Alston, an artist known for his leadership during the Works Progress Administration's Federal Art Project, and a prolific member of the Harlem Renaissance in New York. And on the right, you see Jitterbug, a linocut print from the portfolio Copacetic by Alison Sarr, based on a series of glass and bronze reliefs the artist created to adorn platforms at the Harlem 125th Street subway station. The two works on this slide bring to mind the fond memory of last year's Armory Show in New York, where I was joined by a special group of Friends of Art patrons. As is true for many of the other patron trips I've attended and led over these years, That Armory group not only reinforced our shared community, but also produced something incredibly important, bringing two works that add immeasurably to the Davis collections. On the left, a minimalist painting, Untitled Bronze, in acrylic and mixed media, including seed beads, by the Lakota artist Diane Whitehawk, who we met at the fair and who spoke to us at length about her work. On the right is Through the Fence, a painting in a series of recent, highly illustrative portraits by the Los Angeles-based Iranian artist Amir Fallah, who we also met and spoke with that day. And this extraordinary work, You Are on Indian Land, by Julie Buffalo Head. Based in Minneapolis, Buffalo Head is an enrolled member of the Ponca tribe of Oklahoma. She's best known for her beautifully drafted cast of animal characters set in curious and uncertain narratives. Turning to programs, I want to invite you all to join us for the remainder of the fall's offerings online. The conversation we hosted last week between Japanese photographer Takashi Arai and Carrie Cushman was spectacular, and I expect that the rest of the conversations in the Handmade Photography Today series to be equally compelling. You can find registration online. And a sneak peek. We have pushed our programming ahead by one semester and plan now to welcome everyone back to the galleries for the opening of Prison Nation and Komatsu Hiroko Creative Destruction in the fall of 2021. On the left, you see a portrait by Deborah Luster from Prison Nation. Originated by the Aperture Foundation in New York, curated by Nicole R. Fleetwood, and organized for the Davis by Amanda Gilvin, Prison Nation addresses the unique role photography plays in creating a visual record of the national crisis that is mass incarceration, despite the difficulty of gaining access inside prisons. Many thanks to Betty Rausch, class of 1965, for her support of this project. On the right, you see an example of Komatsu Hiroko's work. Curated by Carrie Cushman, Komatsu Hiroko, Creative Destruction, commissions one of the Japanese photographer's experimental installations of gridded and scrolled photographs comprised of thousands of pictures of urban construction debris and waste. And now for a big reveal. Led by Heather Hughes, the Kemper Assistant Curator of Academic Affairs and Exhibitions, the curatorial team presented last week on new digital tools for teaching, introducing our faculty to various ways of accessing the Davis collections and all of our online content. This marked the first internal opportunity to share the newest addition to our toolkit. And you, my friends, are the first off-campus community to have a look. I'm delighted to share with you now the new Davis in 3D models. The Davis worked with Archimedes Digital, a local nonprofit software developer, on realizing a 3D model devised to provide tremendous visual access to every object on view in the galleries. The modeling, undertaken with a special 360-degree camera, was completed with the support on site of Mark Beeman, Manager of Exhibitions and Collections Preparation, and Caitlin Dwenebeer, Assistant Preparator and Collections Care Specialist. Many thanks to them, and also to the Davis curatorial team, whose careful review ensured such excellence. Over coming months, curators and student workers will annotate the objects with label texts and digital media links, a final necessary step before the models go live. The video I'm about to share demonstrates the usability and immersive potential for teaching with these 3D models. Let me introduce Amanda Gilvin, who in this virtual tour brilliantly connects an Adinkra cloth in the African galleries to a contemporary painting by June Edmonds, a recent acquisition made possible through Friends of Art funds.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amanda Gelvin, the Kerner Senior Curator and Assistant Director at the Davis. Welcome to the Davis in 3D. I'm happy to virtually welcome you to the galleries at the Davis Museum at Wellesley College. Today, we're going to look closely at two artworks, beginning on level 2. Follow me over to the African galleries. We're going to go to the gallery that focuses on the arts of Akan cultures, which are based in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. There is the Kwaziata Adinkra cloth, or Sunday cloth, which was made in the 1930s or 1940s and used by someone in the Ashanti culture. It makes a massive wall hanging, but it is actually a garment that can communicate rich social meanings for its wearer. Here you can see courtiers of the current Asantehene, or king of the Ashanti people, Otumfuo Nana Osei Tutu II, dressed in their Adinkra cloth for a royal celebration in 2009. The stamped designs on Adinkra cloth correspond to proverbs, aphorisms, and stories. This white cloth would have been worn to a celebratory event, like a wedding or a baby naming ceremony, or a funeral honoring the long life of the deceased. In particular, the Adinkra Hene motif, or the concentric circles that make up the chief of the Adinkra symbols, symbolizes charismatic leadership. This cloth would have represented the virtue and prestige of the wearer. Now let's head upstairs to level 5 to see how Adinkra cloth and the Adinkra Hene symbol have inspired American contemporary artist June Edmonds in her 2018 painting, A Tisket. The colorful arcs suggest intersecting circles and evoke the record on which Ella Fitzgerald recorded her breakout hit, A Tisket, a Tasket, in 1938, after which this painting is named. The thick daubs of paint suggest that green and yellow basket mentioned in the nursery rhyme that Fitzgerald transformed into a pop song. The partial circular forms also specifically allude to the Adinkra Hene. Edmonds has explained her interest in the Ashanti symbolism of the circle as a symbol of sacred authority and leadership. This abstract painting takes inspiration from how Adinkra symbols move on a garment and how they serve as forms of communication, learning, and memory keeping. On the Adinkra cloth, the Adinkra Hene combines with other symbols to indirectly convey complex meanings that convert prestige and protection on the wearer. I'll conclude with words from the artist, June Edmonds. She says, quote, "Counting time, keeping time, improvisation, and elements of surprise can be represented visually. My goal is to infuse each work with a rhythmic, pulsating, and alluring energy which invites the viewer to connect with something higher within." Thanks for joining me today. I'll look forward to learning with you another time, both virtually and in person. This is your Davis.
Thank you so much to Amanda for that. I'm so impressed. And I can't tell you how excited I am looking forward to the use of these models in teaching and in learning. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am always so gladdened and heartened and bolstered to have Friends of Art by my side, so generously committed to sponsoring the Davis's work as we challenge, enrich, amplify, and transform the lives of Wellesley students. There is hard work ahead, and I know that our Friends of Art partnership will sustain the Davis far into the future. Thank you.